Listen, baby, I need you to do something for me, okay? I need you to really trust me and do this. Don't worry about nothing. I've already handled all of that. Meet my guy, bring it in, and I got you. You don't have nothing to worry about. What you mean put my hands behind my back? I'm going to the hole. Man, I don't know what y'all talking about, man. I ain't did nothing. What are you talking about? Baby, I just need you to trust me. I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. I never meant to put you in this predicament, man. But just trust me, I'm going to work it out. Dude, you put your wife in this predicament, in this situation. You could have gotten anybody else to do it, but not your wife, the mother of your kids. That's a no-no. Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again. Real Ken's TV in the house like kitchen sinks. You know, oftentimes when people go to prison, the bills, the daily things that go on in life, the daily expenses rather, guess what? They don't stop. They continue to go. So that car payment that you had, guess what? The mortgage company or the finance company rather is not like, well, you know what, Mr. Mark, he'll be gone for the next couple years, so we'll just defer these payments. No, no, they still need that payment or they coming to get that car. Your mortgage company or the place that you renting from, wherever you stand, they need that bread. They need that money. Now, oftentimes dudes get locked up. The hustle don't stop. They just figure out another way to actually make it work. So I'm gonna bring you all the story of Mark today. Mark was an individual who was out on the streets. He was selling drugs. He was selling big drugs. Now he wasn't selling he wasn't like cartel on a cartel level or anything like that. And he was charged in the state, so he never got sent to the feds. So you know he was kind of high up, but he wasn't that high to where the feds wanted him. So Mark was making his money out on the street. He ends up getting set up by one of his good partners or what have you. They came in, they found a lot of his money. He lost his house, he lost a bunch of cars, a bunch of materialistic things. Problem was, it wasn't just about Mark. See, Mark was married, they had 3 kids, and they were accustomed to living a certain lifestyle. Mark had been in prison before, but it had been a good 10 years. So the entire 10 years that, you know, he had been out, he was hustling, stacking that money, stacking that dough. He had an excellent run. Now, I'm not condoning doing anything illegal whatsoever, but at the same time, as I mentioned, those bills don't stop just because you're incarcerated. Mark ended up getting, I think Mark ended up having like a 10-year sentence. It was something like that. State of Kentucky, you only do 2 years to the parole board before you have an opportunity to get out. The wife was stressed. Mark was stressed. The money wasn't coming in. She never had to work. She stayed at home, understandably, took care of the kids, made sure that they were good. But with this money not coming in due to Mark's absence, guess what? It's stress in the air. Trouble paying the rent. You know, trouble keeping the car that they did have. Trouble keeping that on the road. You know, you got wear and tear. You got upkeep on the car. You got to buy groceries. All of these different things. They had a little bit of money, but it wasn't much. That money quickly ran out. They may have had 15, 20,000. That money, 15, 20,000 doesn't take you very far when you're not bringing in any money. Mark still had friends. He never told on his people, so he still had, you know, people that he dealt with. She comes to see him one day, and Mark tells her rather, listen, baby, this is what I need you to do. I need you to call this number, speak to my guy. When you speak to my guy, he's going to give you a package. It's already going to be prepared. Only thing I need you to do is bring in the package. Now, I'm not exactly sure how she was getting the package into the facility, but she was getting that package into the facility. Well, I don't know, baby. I don't know. I mean, that's not something that, you know, I've ever done before, and this is something that you typically handle, and I don't want to get into any trouble. You know, if I do, who's going to look out for the kids? Who's going to be, you know, I don't know. Listen, baby, just trust me. I got it all set up. You don't have to do anything. Just meet my guy. As I mentioned, he's going to give you the package. You bring it in. Once you bring it in, you're not going to have any trouble getting it in. And once you come in, I'm going to tell you what to do. So she follows the lead of her husband. She goes ahead, you know, she does it or whatever. And I'm still not sure exactly how she was getting the package into the facility. But she was getting the package into the facility, and I guess we'll kind of, leave it to our imagination, what have you. So she's getting the package into the facility, and she would go to the restroom, and when she went to the restroom, that's where she would retrieve the package from wherever she had the package stored, to say the least, and she would leave it in a certain spot in the restroom. Well, when she left it in that certain spot, Mark had a dude who was a trustee. He worked visitation. When he worked visitation, he already knows the play. They've already discussed this. So he's watching her. She goes to the restroom. He gives it a couple minutes. Then he goes in the restroom. He retrieves the package. He gets it, hands it off to another individual. Then boom, it's not on him. And it's taken to wherever it's stored at. At the time in prison, the two major things that were pretty large in prison, pause. You got your cell phones, and you got your spice. The spice is the authentic drugs, the authentic smokes. A lot of people didn't really want to use hardcore drugs, and they didn't, because we were at a prison camp, so they didn't want to use the hardcore drugs, and they didn't want to smoke weed because those things can be detected on the drug test. Now, if you at a medium and you behind that fence, most people don't care because they got life sentences, or they got, 20, 30, 40 years before they even have an opportunity to go home anyway. So they don't give a darn about, failing a drug test. But as I mentioned, you're at a work camp. You're at a work camp typically within 48 months of having an opportunity of going home or going home. So you definitely don't want a dirty urine on your record. So she was bringing in the spice, the authentic smokes, drugs, whatever you want to, address it as. And she was bringing in cell phones. Cell phones are major in prison. I'm talking about, man, $1,000 for a phone. If I know you, if I'm cool with you, man, $700-800. But you can get $1,000 all day, every day for a cell phone in prison. The spice, it looks like, for you all that are not familiar, it's not, it's thinner than dirt. It's like an actual cooking spice. So if you can think of some sort of a cooking spice, that's what spice actually looks like. And you take a cap. The cap about, I don't know, about like that, if you can tell. It's not very big. When I say you take a cap, you may take a cap of let's see, what's something that has, like the bliss sticks, the chapstick rather. You know how the chapstick is? It's probably about yay big or whatever, and it has a cap on it. You fill that cap up with spice, $100 all day, every day. $100 all day, every day is what you're getting it for. What's what they going for. And in certain situations, I've seen it go for way more than that. So you have to imagine Mark is selling these caps like crazy. He's getting so much money. So you say, well, real Kens, how was he actually getting the money? I mean, do they have actual money in prison? Do they have, actual paper money? No, back then they didn't have Venmo. They didn't have Cash App. You had Green Dot. Yeah, little cards you can go purchase for about $5 at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and basically you can just add money onto the Green Dot using a card. So you call an 800 number. Yeah, I like to add 800, or I need to add $100 or $150, $200 onto this card. They run your card, boom, boom, boom. Now the money's transferred over to your Green Dot. Mark's wife had the Green Dot card, so when he would get the orders in, or when he would get the supply in rather, he already had orders. Okay, you need 50, you need 100, you bought a phone. He's calling his wife. They confirming everything. Now, they're using code words over the phone because she already knows what's going on. So she's going to give him the green light. Once she sees that the money has actually hit the Green Dot card, she lets him know, yeah, everything's good. Then, boom, you're going to get, whatever you purchased from Mark. Mark, man, he was making so much money inside, but he was hot. See, the one thing about prison, man, is nothing any different as far as out here on the streets. People going to tell on you. People jealous. They see that, man, Mark's eating good every night. He's eating pizza. He's eating steaks. He's eating chicken. He's eating, whatever the best thing that you can buy, the best foods that you can buy on commissary, Mark was eating. Once a week, you could order out. I mean, just whatever. He was penitentiary rich, basically. Mark had stacked $40,000, $50,000 easily on the green dot cards. But again, his name was becoming hot in the system. Think about prison, man. They got a what do you call it? Internal affairs, and they investigate. They definitely investigate, and they have confidential informants in prison that actually report the internal affairs and let them know who's doing what. Yeah, it definitely goes down like that. But you just never know who it is. You never know who this individual is. He may be working, for the prison or what have you. The prison's going to put in a good word for him for the parole board or what have you, and then boom, he's gone home. And you never knew who it was that was saying anything. So anytime you're doing something in prison, it's kind of like on the streets. It's clearly like on the streets, man. You got to keep it low. And again, I don't advocate doing anything like this, especially while in prison. But at the same time, Mark felt as though he had to do what he had to do to feed his family. So the money's accumulating. Now, you had people, all orders weren't $100 orders. You might have somebody that just wants to get, $20, $30. Okay, you want $20, $30 here. I'm going to give you a store list. Something small like that, I'm going to give you a store list. Go to the store, give me a couple boxes of that banquet chicken, a pack of those burgers. You can get a pack of burgers, the patties, for $16 back then. You get 16 burgers. Actually, it was $15. So give me a pack of burgers, a couple boxes of that banquet chicken, man. Bring it back. Boom, I give you what you got coming. So Mark had a smooth operation. His girl was coming every single week. He was breaking. Everybody was happy. He was breaking the dude off that was, grabbing it out of the bathroom. Then he had to break the dude off that he passed it along to his people. Then he had to break them off for holding it, but that didn't even matter. I just told you a cap full of spice was going for every bit of $100 easily. So, not to mention, sometimes she would bring in the phones. Kind of made me feel as though he had a guard that was in on it just as well, because I never really understood how she was getting this in. I can understand how she was getting the spice in, but cell phones? You bring 1 or 2 phones at a time? With the charger? I don't understand that, but hey, it's not my business, So, everything is smooth. One particular Saturday, I never will forget, they called Mark for visit, as they always did. His girl always showed up every Friday. Every Saturday, every Sunday. She brought the kids. Visits are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can bring money, but you can only bring quarters. When you bring the quarters, they got vending machines. You can get any and everything that you could possibly imagine out of the vending machine. You sit there, you eat well. Kids is playing. You can take pictures with your family. So everything is cool. It kind of gets your mind out of the prison for the 2-3 hours that you're actually out on visit. Sometimes you can stay longer depending on how busy they are. But you're always going to get a minimum of 2-hour visit in prison, contact visits. She comes in. They call Mark for visitation. Next thing you know, Mark's sitting there. The state police is everywhere. You can actually see outside. The way this prison was set up, you could actually see outside the visitations. He's already at visitation. So there's no way that he can possibly get on the phone fast enough and tell his wife, abort mission, because they've already called him for visitation. See, from time to time, what they started to do, they hadn't been doing it, but what they started to do, the state police would come up to the, to the prison or what have you, and they would check everybody that was coming in to the prison. This was the wrong day for Mark's wife to come in. She came to the prison. They checked her. They checked the car, but they already had the dime on her. You see what I'm saying? Because usually they do like a soft check. Like on your credit report, man, they do a soft pull. It's not going to affect your credit score. It's not going to be an inquiry like a hard pull will be. Oh, see, I go talking about the credit thing again. So let me reel it back in to what I was talking about. They already had a dime dropped on her, so they searched her a lot more thorough than everybody else. Like I said, everybody else, they might just take the flashlights, look through the car, make sure there's no beer cans, alcohol bottles laying around or what have you. Okay, you cool. Pat you down, you can go in. Nah, her, they checked her. This particular day, she had a phone. and she had a big bag of that spice, that Spiz Ice. Now, I'm not going to necessarily say it was a big bag. It was a lot of spice, but again, it was very, very small. So, the bag probably wasn't that large, but nevertheless, it's contraband. It's felony. You cannot bring anything like that into a state facility, a prison, a jail, anything. Contraband. They checked her. They found the phone. They found the spice. Next thing you know, you see her getting cuffed, walked away, put into the police car. Let me tell you the sad thing about it, man. She had her 3 kids with her, as she did every week. They took the kids. They took her to jail. The kids had to go into state custody. Now, I believe her mother ultimately got the kids out of state custody. But for however long that she was actually going through this process, she couldn't be around her kids. She goes to jail. She ends up getting out on bond, but it takes, a few weeks for her to actually get out on bond. State of Kentucky, we don't have a bail bondsman, and we don't have an automatic 10% bond. See, most states, once you get locked up and your bond, let's just say it's $20,000, it's automatically 10% at $2,000. No, my friend, not in Kentucky. It's a Commonwealth state, one of the few Commonwealth states. You get locked up in Kentucky, you got to go see that judge. Now, when you go see that judge, for arraignment, that's typically not the time that the judge is going to give you a bond reduction, unless you have an attorney, a paid attorney that's there and he can speak on your behalf. But if you don't have that, you're going to have to wait at least, 10 days before your next court appearance to have an opportunity to get out. And if you don't get out then, now you're having to wait to get indicted. They can take up to 60 days to indict you by law. If they don't indict you within 60 days, they got to let you go. Well, guess what the great Commonwealth of Kentucky typically does? Indict you on day 59, day 58, get your hopes up that you might not get indicted. You're telling yourself, maybe I slipped through the cracks. Maybe I, slipped through the system. No. Not in Kentucky. It's not happening. They don't slip up like that. So that's even longer that you may end up having to wait for a bond. So, she did a few weeks or what have you, ended up getting out on bond. But guess what? She still couldn't go around her kids. She was not supposed to. I'm quite sure that she did. Her mother had the kids, but it was a court order. She couldn't go around her kids. You are a danger and a threat to these kids that you bore, that you've raised, that you've been there, for day one. But because you made a mistake with some spice and a phone in a state facility, you're no longer fit to be a good parent, I guess. So she was unable to go around her kids. So now she's going through the whole court process. Mark, in turn, they knew that he was a part of this scheme. That's the way that they talk, scheme. So even though he didn't get caught with anything, even though, guess what? They locked him up, sent him to a higher level prison, an actual prison with a fence and barbed wire. Yeah, he goes to an actual prison. So now he's only able to see, he can't see his wife. She's banned off the visitation list for life. Even though she hadn't been convicted, you can no longer enter any state facility, Department of Corrections facility. So now he can't see his wife. The kids are with the mother. He's able to still, communicate and check on the kids, but not very frequently, because guess what? Everybody's mad at Mark. The mother, she's mad, understandably. The wife, she's mad because now she's going through a felony case. The money that they did have, she's having to use that money. $15,000, $20,000 to pay an attorney. Yeah, attorneys are very, very expensive. Yeah, you might be able to give an attorney $5,000 to work you a plea deal, maybe. But when it's something serious like that, man, they're going to want a minimum of 10, 15, and we're not even talking about going to trial. So she's having to use that money that, they've accumulated, send her mother money, for bills. Then she was out on bond, and she had an attorney fees. And so essentially that money was gone. She ended up having to go get a job. And it was just one of those things to where she ended up having to plead guilty. There was nothing that she could really do. What can she do? She was caught red-handed. She was caught. The judge didn't take too kindly of that. He ended up giving her a partial probation. Basically, he made her serve 6 months. and it's called shock probation. He made her do 6 months, 180 days, and after 180 days is served, you can petition the judge. You can file a motion. It's called shock probation again, and basically, I've been shocked. Prison, doing 6 months in prison, 180 days, I've been shocked back into reality, if you will. So she ended up having to do 6 more months in prison, in addition to the 3 weeks that she had already done in the county jail. And, you know, Mark, it went on his record, he was actually hit with an outside charge just as well. He ended up having to plead guilty. He received, I want to say, an additional 5 years onto his sentence. And, of course, the wife, she left him. She left him because she was very, even though it was something that she decided to do, she felt as though she was following the lead of her husband. You got me into this, you know, situation, this scenario. I've never had a criminal record, ever. Now I got to fight to get my own kids back. My mother has custody. Luckily, that there was someone to actually, you know, be there for the kids and take the kids. But I can't get full custody of my kids back until I complete my full sentence. Now, when I say complete her full sentence, she got 5 years. 5 years to serve 180 days. So basically that means after you serve your 180 days, you're on probation for the next 4.5 years. If you do anything, they have a right to send you back to prison. So you having to report to a probation officer weekly, you know, drug testing fees. You got a drug test, actually. You know, you got to keep a job, which, you know, you should show your pay stubs, go down there and be humiliated and you know, pee in a cup in front of another grown woman. They sit there and they watch you like it's just, she was humiliated. All because as the husband, you're supposed to be the protector, the provider. And you put yourself in this situation to where you were locked up. But then now you put me in this situation to where I'm locked up, acting as though I'm the wife, and I have a felony record now. It was just one of those things, you know. Mark felt as though, man, I was just trying to provide for my family, man. I was just trying to look at, yeah. But the problem is, you don't sacrifice your wife, man. There was the one person that was in your corner that was there for you. Now nobody's there for you. Now you went from eating banquet chickens and burgers and you know, all the high price items in prison to noodles because you don't have anybody to send you anything now. Now I'm quite sure that, you know, he probably got his hustle on or whatever again after that point. You know, I don't really know because as I mentioned, he got transferred. But at the same time, you don't put your wife, a loved one, I don't care if it's your girlfriend, your kid's mother, you don't put somebody that you love in that predicament, in that situation. And truth be told, you don't put nobody in that situation because all plans sound good initially. All you got to do, when you hear a person say that, run. All you got to do, there's no such thing as all you got to do. Yeah, it sounds easy. There's no reinventing the wheel. You got guys that come out of prison that are unscathed, 200,000-300,000, you know, 80,000-90,000, whatever, saved up. But for every person that does that, there's probably, I don't know, 50 of them that end up getting caught up. See, just because you're locked up, as I mentioned earlier, man, that don't kill your hustler mentality. That don't kill your, you know, you still trying to figure out a way to get money. It's just like, all right, I'm gonna figure out another way. And a lot of times when you go to prison, man, you meet some good people that's on the right track, but you also meet dudes that doing the same thing you was doing, and sometimes on a bigger scale. So you learn how to do the exact same thing that got you in prison, but in your mind, you learning how to do it a lot better. Sad situation, but that goes on so often, man. It goes on so often. Here it was. She brought her kids up to the jail, up to the prison, as she did every week, thinking she's going to see her husband, have a good time. Kids, hey, daddy, they jumping up and down, and only to be escorted away in handcuffs in a state trooper vehicle. Such a sad situation. Ladies, I implore you. I'm not saying dudes that's locked up are bad dudes or bad people, whatever. I've met some of the best people I've ever met in prison. But at the same time, you have to protect yourself and you have to protect your freedom. And especially if you got kids, what happens if you do get caught? I understand he's telling you, baby, just listen, man. Just listen to me. Just trust me. No. You're not bigger than the police. You're not bigger than the Department of Corrections. What if you do get caught? Is the risk worth it? You going to jail, losing your kids? What if your mother wasn't there to take the kids? Now the kids would have been in state custody. Is it worth it? I understand it was hard times. I understand it was bills due. I understand. But it was probably best that you just, you know, took what you had, moved in with your mother, and got you a little job or whatever, and basically try to rebuild from that. Daggone shame, man. It's a daggone shame, but it definitely happens. That happens so often. Dudes all the time, hey, baby, I need you to meet my people out on the street. Once you meet them, bring it in. I already got it set up. No, don't do it. Point blank. Call me a hater. Call me whatever you want to call me. Don't do it. Because you're going to find yourself in the same predicament that he's in. Locked up. Real Kens TV, man. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. Anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive Real Kens TV.